Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I'm Courtney Ryan, and today we're going to be reacting to a TikTok video. And I actually found an article about this video before I saw the actual video, which normally means it's stirring some stuff up or it's a little bit controversial. So I wanted to watch the video with you guys, go through her little list here one by one, and tell you what I think. So let's get started. Feel the need to mention this because of some other reaction content that I've done. Please do not send the creators that I'm reacting to any hate. Please do not go to their platforms and be little keyboard warriors and just say horrible things to them. That doesn't do me any favors. It doesn't do them any favors. And it certainly doesn't do you any favors either. It's really whack. And you all are better than that. I can't even believe I have to say that. But again, given recent events, I do have to say that. So just want to put a little disclaimer out there. Do not do that. You are better than that. Love you guys. So normally what I do, if you've seen any of my reaction videos, I'll react to the entire video and then I will share my thoughts. But I think what I'm going to do with this one is go through each point and share my thoughts after each point. I had a couple of you request that in the last reaction I did, so I just want to see if you guys prefer that. Let me know if going forward you would rather me make comments as I go in the reaction, or you want me to save my thoughts for after I react. Would just love your feedback on that because you're the ones watching, right?
Ever since I started dating again, I've been getting a lot of questions on my standards when doing so. So let's go through my dating rules. Number 1, the slide-in. If you are going to slide into my DMs, keep it respectful and don't be basic. The opening line of our conversation will tell me everything I need to know about the kind of guy you are, how often you slide into DMs, and how unique you are. I refuse to respond to any DMs that start with, "Hi, how are you? What's up? You're pretty. Do better." Start an interesting conversation if you're genuinely interested in the person I am.
So slide in is her first point. Be respectful and don't be basic, essentially. Don't copy and paste the same exact message and send it to every single girl or come across as thirsty. I think the same here rings true for messaging on dating apps. I would keep it short and sweet, but use her profile, whether it's Instagram or a dating app, to make it more unique and show that you're interested. My husband did this when he messaged me on Tinder, and it made his message stand out compared to all the other guys that were messaging me. So pretty realistic request here, I think. When you just say hi or how are you, you don't really give that other person much to go off of. I know I'll even give a personal example here. When I was doing the videos with other women, I downloaded Bumble BFF, and girls would message me first, and when I tell you, they were horrible at starting a conversation. They would say, "Hi, you're so pretty," or "Hi, how are you? Hi, what's up?" That gives me nothing. Say something about my profile. The girls that I would reply to were always ones who said something about my profile and started an interesting conversation. So I know that most girls suck at this too. I'll be totally honest and say, I understand that. As a woman, I get it, but a lot of girls will wait for you to send the first message and be the one to reach out, whether that be because of a societal pressure or cultural norm. That's just the way that it happens most of the time, unless you're on Bumble where the girl has to send you a message first. That's pretty much the only situation where girls will actually message you first, or they just won't message you at all. So the best advice I can give you, if you want a girl to respond to you, don't just say hi, don't just say what's up. Make yourself a little more interesting than that, because I know all of you are more interesting than that. You're not boring. You come to my channel, I give you advice. I don't tell you to say hi. I don't tell you to say what's up. Use your noggin, all right? So yeah, I agreed with that. Nothing crazy.
2, the pre-stalk. I will stalk you on everything. I have to. I'm a woman. Before I even proceed to reply to your message, I'm going through your following, I'm going through your posts, I'm going through your accounts on all social media apps. If I find problematic tweets, not talking to you. If you're following a bunch of girls that aren't following you back on Instagram, ick.
So the next point here is the pre-stalk. As a woman, I will be brutally honest here. This is something that I don't think men fully understand. There's absolutely a safety element to this that as a woman, you just have to be cognizant of. You just have to. But also, we do have a tendency to pre-stalk for other reasons, hence why I've told you in the past, if you're following a ton of half-naked Instagram models, it's not a good look. And just to give an example on the flip side here, the same way for a lot of you guys, if a woman is posting scantily pics on her Insta, it's not a good look to you either. So it's kind of the same. We make judgments and perceive people a certain way based on a ton of different aspects. It's human nature to do so. You can throw a tantrum about it and say it's not fair or say it's a double standard, or you can choose to use it to your advantage. Your choice, but I'm gonna pick using it to my advantage. So yes, women do put on our little Sherlock Holmes hat and our little monocle when we are going to creep on you online. We do stalk, we do turn into little detectives, okay? It's true. There are many reasons for this. It is not always, we don't have bad intentions necessarily a lot of the time when we do it. A lot of the time it is a safety thing, making sure, especially if we're meeting you on an app or on Instagram and we've never met you in real life, you kind of have to vet people and make sure they are who they say they are, or you like the person that they're portraying themselves as on social media. Our social media accounts and our online dating platforms are unfortunately, again, I'm not making the rules here, I'm just reporting, a reflection of who we are. It's our personal brand. As stupid and as silly as that sounds, that's how a lot of girls view it. So if you are, portraying yourself in a way on social media that does not align with who you are in real life, it is not, speaking volumes of your values and your character and your morals, switch it up. Make sure it matches who you are. Be proud of what you are putting out into the world. I think it's important both for men and women. If a woman is posting half-naked photos online, but then is mad that men are messaging her about the half-naked photos, it's like, do the math. So anyway, I'm getting off track here, but yes, the pre-stalk is something that a lot of us do, especially if we're meeting you online and we've never met you in real life.
3, the 7-day deadline. You have 7 days max of us talking to ask me on a date. If it gets to 7 days and we still haven't met, I'm bored and I'm cutting you off. I'm not trying to be out here texting you for weeks before you can actually ask me on a date. We're adults, grow up, get to it.
The 7-day deadline, I have to agree, because you're not a pen pal. I would say this is a positive thing for you as well. Texting should be used to facilitate a date, especially if you haven't even gone out together yet. I would highly recommend planning something shortly after you start messaging. Again, guys, this also benefits you. This is not just to benefit women here. I think if you meet on a dating app, get her off the app, get her number, and shortly after going back and forth a little bit, try to facilitate a date with her. Use texting as a means to an end to get to an in-person date. Of course, things are different here if you're long distance and you're not in the same place. I get that. That's a totally different scenario. But what I'm talking about here is someone that you have the ability to meet in person, like ASAP, but you're just going back and forth texting like a pen pal instead of making any plans and initiating things, right? I think it's important to take the initiative, get it going. Again, all you have to say is, I would love to take you out. Are you free Friday for dinner? Then say a time, get it together, get it going. I agree, and it's much better to have these conversations in person versus over text. Just save it for the in-person date. Number 4 on the list.
4, in the beginning, this is a test. Meaning I'm not going to ask you to do anything for me because I shouldn't have to. Instead, I'm going to quietly sit back, chill, and observe everything you choose to do. I shouldn't have to ask you to plan a date for me or court me properly like a gentleman you should already know or figure it out. First date standards.
Okay. I don't love the language of something being a test necessarily, but regardless, this is something that women do. I don't think the way that she described it is unrealistic. Essentially, she's just saying to be a gentleman. First impressions are important for both people involved, not just you. I think, she should be showing up as her best self as well. Again, I don't love the language of something being a test because I think that sounds a little bit immature and kind of like you're playing games with people. So I don't necessarily love to take it that way, but I think it's more of, do our values and morals align? Is this someone who's going to take initiative and be someone that I'm compatible with? It's really more so of that versus something being a test per se. Okay, next.
Date standards. I honestly don't mind because 100% you're going to be the one that's planning the first date. And I'm good doing whatever, but let's keep it short, sweet, in a public place, in the daytime, and without any alcohol on the first one. And although I'm up for anything, I will not be going on a walk for a first date, and I will not be coming to your house on the first date.
So she called this one the first date standards. She said a public place, yes, again, as a safety thing here. I know as a man that might seem silly to you and you might not fully understand it, but as a woman, I totally get it. There's some bad apples out there and you just have to make sure that you are putting yourself in a safe situation. So go for brunch, go for coffee, dinner, the museum, the farmer's market. So many great first date options that are not going for a walk necessarily or a hike or going back to your house. And I've reacted to some content before of girls saying that they don't accept coffee or walk dates as a date. And the coffee thing, I don't really understand because I personally like going out for coffee. I think that's a great first date personally. The walk thing, I kind of get because a lot of the times, just from a woman's perspective here, you like to get a little dolled up on the first date. You do your makeup, you do your hair, you put on a dress. You want to feel good on the date and make a good first impression. And a walk doesn't necessarily always go along with that. So I think sometimes just sitting down, getting to know each other can be great. But I've done videos where I give you guys first date recommendations, so go watch them if you haven't already. No alcohol and not going back to your house on the first date is incredibly classy in my opinion, so I'm not sure why any of you would be mad about that expectation.
6, the bare minimum is loyalty, respect, communication, listening to the conversation, making eye contact, not looking around at everybody else, not being on your phone, showing manners and being polite to the service staff if we're in a restaurant, please and thank yous, opening doors for me, etc. All the bare minimum. If you do it, that's good, but I'm not going to be applauding you for it.
So she called this one the bare minimum, which was loyalty, respect, communication, listening to the conversation, making eye contact, not being on your phone, showing manners, being polite to service staff, saying please and thank you, and opening doors. I mean, it feels like a lot when you rapid fire 10 things back to back like that, but honestly, yeah. I think those are all realistic. That is kind of the bare minimum.
Only attracted to healthy masculine energy and a provider mentality. If I find out you don't have this, bye. For me to maintain interest in you, I need to see that you're in your healthy masculine energy and you are allowing me to exist in my feminine energy, so our roles and our energies are balanced so we can be compatible with each other. I'm in it for a soft girl life, not taking care of you.
You know, I have a little trouble with this one just because I don't really know what her definition of healthy masculine energy is, because everyone on the internet seems to have kind of a different idea. I think a lot of girls hear this and they're like, yeah, he needs to be a millionaire. Provider. But I do want to mention, I know there are those bad apples who take it a very materialistic and luxury lifestyle type of way. But just because a woman says she wants a guy with a provider mentality does not automatically make her a gold digger. I think if you're a guy who's looking for what would be considered more of a traditional relationship, then this is not an unreasonable expectation. I think a lot of guys say they want a traditional feminine woman, but then get upset when she doesn't want to necessarily go 50-50. Of course, she needs to say thank you and be gracious and not be a brat about it. That's not what I'm talking about here. I'm absolutely not promoting an unhealthy princess mentality, but just be a gentleman. That doesn't mean you need to go to a fancy restaurant, spend a ton of money, and take her shopping on the first date. I'd recommend not doing that. Like, do not do that. But this discussion of healthy masculine energy, healthy feminine energy, soft girl life, masculine, feminine, it makes me think of this, and I want you to keep this in mind, that we can't cherry pick parts of femininity or masculinity that work in our favor and forget the rest. And that's a two-way street. I would say the same thing to both men and women in that scenario. We cannot cherry pick and then leave out everything else. That doesn't necessarily work in our favor, right? So I just want to mention that because I think a lot of times the content that is based around this masculine, feminine is actually incredibly toxic and unhealthy. So just make sure we're being healthy about that. But I think being a provider comes with so much more than just finances. I think it's, does he want to provide for a family? Does he want a family? Does he have a leader mentality? I think a lot of other things go into that than just finances. And, speaking as a woman who wants a family, I understand why other women want that too. Especially if you're someone who wants to be a stay-at-home mom or even work part-time or whatever it is. I understand then wanting to be with a man who can provide for you and your family if you want to take on more of a stay-at-home mom type of role. Again, every relationship is different. It really comes down to the individuals in the relationship and what works best for you and your situation, your finances, all of that. But I understand women wanting to be with a man who can provide and who is financially independent and a leader and all of that. And last on the list.
And lastly, physical intimacy. Just because you took me out on a date and paid for my dinner doesn't mean I owe you any sort of physical intimacy. If you try and get pushy with the kiss when I haven't hinted that that's what I wanted, bye. And that is exactly how I've been dating for the last year. Some people will think this is too much or this isn't realistic, but when I tell you, it's been working wonders for me.
Okie dokie. Her last point was physical intimacy. Just because you took her out on one date doesn't mean she necessarily owes you any type of physical intimacy. And, I would agree. If you're someone who is not looking for a situationship, a hookup, something casual, agreed. I think this is completely reasonable. And I know a lot of you say you want a woman who respects herself and doesn't have a high body count. So I'm not sure then why this would be an issue either. I, again, think it's classy. I'll be honest here, based on the article title that I read before I found the video, I was expecting this to be incredibly unrealistic and a little out of touch, but I don't really think it was at all. I also understand this though, for all of you guys watching, when we put a list together of our standards and preferences, it can feel like we are being really demanding or asking for a lot, but once she explained everything a little bit further, it wasn't anything particularly crazy, in my personal opinion, what she's asking for. I mean, you guys, I have seen lists, I have seen videos where women legitimately say, and they're being so serious, he needs to be 6 feet, he needs to make $500,000, he needs to be Italian, he needs to have sisters, he has to like the same type of music as me. Which videos like that, content like that, lists like that, demands in that realm are so beyond unrealistic. But I really don't think anything on her list it wasn't even really preferences, it really was more standards in my opinion. And just finding someone who aligns with you on your values, morals, life goals, contributions to the world, things like that, which I think is reasonable. Now, I do want to say I haven't watched any of her other content, so I don't know what else she promotes or what else she talks about. I'm just going based off of this specific video here. But again, I don't really think any of this was unrealistic. I do think there are a lot of people, and I've made tons of videos about this, who have incredibly unrealistic expectations, as I mentioned, and they really get their standards and preferences confused, and it's completely murky. But I think wanting to be with a woman who has standards like this will only do you favors and good in the long run. In my opinion, this was a very healthy, well-rounded, positive list, aside from the little things I mentioned of not really fully understanding, but generally speaking here, I thought it was fine. But you guys can let me know what you think down in the comments. What are your standards for women, and how would it compare to her list for men? Do you see that maybe, things seem a bit unrealistic when we have this list of things we want? It can feel more demanding than it actually is. I would just love to hear, what you're thinking after watching the video and, what your opinion is about what we just talked about. So if you like this video or found it helpful, be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel to be in the loop for when I release new content. If you haven't already, be sure to follow me over on Instagram at Courtney Christine Ryan. I love connecting with all of you guys over on there as well. If you have any content you want me to react to, you can tag me over on TikTok. You can DM it to me on Instagram, send it my way via email, whatever floats your boat. It's probably easiest though to just tag me over on TikTok or here on YouTube if it's a YouTube video. As always, thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you all next time.